Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Cinematics video session 82. So basically in today's video, we will actually try to understand what are the difference in syntax which we have for data flow and recipe. I have covered actually all the kind of SQL functions which we can use in data flow, as well as I have also covered whatever the functions which are there, a little bit of extra as well in the recipe side, which will actually give you the same result. That's fine. That's not a big issue. But we will today understand how is the syntax difference, so that whenever you are writing any syntax right on the recipe side, because currently going forward recipe is the one which will be the future. You have to do a lot of SQL writing or coding or whatever you call it on the recipe side. So it becomes very, like, especially if you are starting on the recipe side in the beginning, it's fine. But somebody who has, let's say, worked on data flow a lot, this video could be helpful for them to actually to know how to change the syntax from data flow to recipe. Okay, so I will just write here, uh let me write here field name. Okay, and what I will do is I will actually tell you how's the syntax in data flow. Okay, and here I will show you the syntax in recipe. Okay, and this three of them, let me put it as a middle alignment. Okay, and what I will do is probably I will enlarge this a bit more. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and let me put it, yeah, that's fine. So let's go one by one and try to understand what are the subtle differences which we have. Okay, so over here I think I have done it on this last free session 7. Okay, not this one, I think. Okay, so if I start with this, I mean, current date is now, that's fine. That's not a big deal. Last four character also, it's more or less same. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Coming to this one, right? Presence of lead source. So let me just copy this one in my Excel sheet. So presence of lead source, and I think I have to, yeah, okay. So presence of lead source, fine. This is the expression which we use in data flow. So let me write over here. Okay. And now if I go to my recipe, right? Okay. So for this same expression, which is presence of lead source, this is how we actually write it. Fine. So as you can see here, both are same. It's just that instead of double quotes, which you write on data flow, you have to write the values in single quotes. That's one thing you have to understand, because the value, I mean, the column names, right? In data flow, we usually write it in single quotes, or we may not write it in single quotes. That's fine. But single quotes is necessary in case we use that augment node, which I will cover on later on. But in recipe, that's not the case. Like whether it's an augmented field or not, you have to actually write it without any quotation marks, but that value part you have to write in single quotes. That's something you have to observe in the recipe side. Okay, so that is one difference. And let's move ahead. uh Stage classification. Okay, this one actually, maybe I can just take a note of this. It's more or less similar to this one itself, but yeah, let's just take a note of this. So this is how you write the data flow syntax. Okay, and if I quickly move towards recipe, so in recipe, this is how you write it. So let me just put it over here. Okay, and I think this one I can just write wrap text. Okay, yeah. So as you can see here in data flow, like of course this we give in single quotes, in recipe it's not needed. And if you see, we are giving the square bracket, right? Here you're giving a round bracket, because in square bracket it was giving a little bit of a difference, as you have seen when I was doing it earlier. So in data flow, you give it in square bracket, whichever values you want to mention by putting that stage name in. And in a recipe it will be round bracket, and the values will be in single quotes as we did for earlier. Okay, and whatever values you want to put, you have to put in single quotes in recipe. Okay, so this one is fine. Okay, this name and type, fine. So this is also something we have to make a note of it. So this name and type, if I come over here, So this is if type is null, then it will be name. Okay. Else, if you see over here, we are giving something like this, right? We are giving plus, we are giving double quotation, whatever things we want to give, like bracket, space, it doesn't matter. But here, instead of plus, you have to give two standing lines. Fine. So if you see here, it has to be two standing lines, and instead of double quotation, like it's single quotes. See, wherever you're using double quotation on data flow, right, it has to be single quotes. That's hands down. There's no issue over there. But whenever you are concatenating, this is one way of concatenation. Okay. Another way is, you can simply put concat, which is fine. But this is one way of concatenation where you are putting the name plus. So instead of plus, you have to put double standing lines on the recipe, and after the rest of all are same except for double quotes, you have to put in single quotes. And whenever you are putting the column name in data flow, we can give the single quotes or we cannot give, but in recipe you cannot give the single quotes column. It just has to be a plain column name. Okay, if that exists. Okay, so that is something you clearly observe. Okay, that's one the difference to note. Okay, let's go ahead. First 15 character is fine. I think amount bucket is also more or less same. It's just that instead of double quotes, you have to give single quotes. So let me not fuss over this one. Okay. So last three character is also same. Okay. For this index of m, so maybe I can make a note of this. This index of m, right? So this is how we write on data flow. Okay. Now to obtain the same result on the recipe, how we write. So let me just quickly move over here. Okay, this is the one. Fine. So this is the way we write it. Okay. On the recipe. So as you have seen on data flow, we can write index underscore of. This is one function which works on the SQL function which works on data flow side. But under recipe, you have to write something like instr. Okay, that's it. And as I told you, like name, you don't put in single quotes in recipe, and that value which you need, like that particular character for which you want to find that index of, you have to put in single quotes in recipe. Okay, so yeah, this is the function difference as well. So this is something to note of. Okay, now moving ahead. uh, Test record example. Okay, yeah, maybe I can take this one as well. Test record examples. Okay, so for test record example, uh, okay, so this is how it's written for test record examples. Okay, so yeah, this is something we should make a note of as well. So in data flow, we write case when name matches test. So basically, it's not that we are writing equal to a particular word. It's just that a particular word needs to be there. Okay. So we can simply write case when name matches test. So if the test is there, we have already discussed that. But when it comes to recipe, you have to use this function called contains. Okay. So recipe doesn't understand this matches and all, which we tried as well. So you have to use case when contains, and you have to at first give the field name and then that particular word for which it should match. Okay, that's something which we have to use. And of course the yes no we have to write in single quotes. Okay, so that function contains we have to use in the recipe side. That's a very good difference which we have. Okay, and worth mentioning. Then we have expected revenue classification. Okay, so I can take this part as well. Now coming to the recipe, so this is how we write in recipe. Okay, so as you can see, expected revenue less than 10,000, then low. But in data flow, we can give that by if we want to put one particular range for numbers for which we want to search it, we can put the square bracket and we can put that numbers dot dot and 20,000. That means it's the range. But when it comes to recipe, you have to write in this one between 10,000 and 20,000. There's no other way. That double dot hopefully doesn't work. Okay, so you have to write between 10,000 and 20,000. Okay, that's the way to do it on the recipe side. Okay, while discussing, let me check one part maybe if it works out. Otherwise, I don't think so it will. But I was thinking if this can work out. Um, what I was thinking is expected revenue. If I write it as, let's say this one in instead of this one, if I give this one, will it work out? No, it doesn't work out. Okay. So unfortunately, it doesn't work out. I was thinking if instead of square, we can put a round bracket. Yeah, but I think it doesn't expect revenue in, then medium. Yeah, it doesn't work out. Okay. So that's fine. This is another difference which we have. Okay. And what else? State sorted is fine. State sorted is fine. I mean, you already know this. Okay. New opportunity type. Coalesce is also not a big deal. Fine. You have understood how we can write. Okay. More or less it's the same. Type classification. New opportunity type. Type classification. Okay. For this type classification, maybe this one we can check out once. So this type classification. We put this whole thing over here. Let me see the type classification. Yeah. So as you can see here, like in the data flow, we used to write starts underscore with. Okay. So instead of writing starts underscore with, you have to just write starts with, and W will be capital. So as you can see in recipe side, that underscore won't be there and W will be capital. That's the way it's being done. Okay. And similar is the case with ends with. So we write ends underscore with in data flow, but in recipe, we have this function ends with the W capital. Otherwise, others are fine. I mean, this field name we uh, don't have to give the quotation at all, and these values we give in single quotes in recipe. Okay, that's fine. This is another interesting difference. Okay, let's move to the next one. Okay, date part, I think we will do a little bit. Okay, this date part excluding time. Okay, so this date part excluding time we are writing in this manner. Fine. Let's say if I want to see date, we actually write it in this manner to date, right? And if I go to recipe, yeah, this is the way we write in recipe. We just simply write created date. Okay, there's another way actually. So this to date we have used, but we can simply write created date. Okay, that is the best way. Or I think this is another way to write. Yeah, so this is one way you can write if you actually want to use this functionality. Okay, so in recipe, in data flow, we used to write to date, and then we used to write created underscore sec underscore epoch. In recipe, actually you have to write in this manner, that to underscore timestamp, and you have to give in one particular format you want it, and in that way you can actually get that particular date in that format. So yeah, this is one way. Or simply you can just give created date. I mean, there are different ways. There are very easy techniques to deal with dates. Okay, so yeah, maybe we will continue from here. I think we have done mostly for string parts. We will actually look a few how the transformation, what is the difference in syntax which we have on the data frame recipe for the date data type. I mean, for this one, I think we can stop for the string data types mainly, which we have seen. I think right now you have understood, and some of the functions related to string. And yeah, let's catch up in the next video. Please definitely do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.